Ethos of Silence, a veteran podcast aimed to amplify the voices of veterans, creating a safe space for authentic conversations about their experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We seek to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster a community for support, resilience, and understanding through storytelling, expert insights, and candid discussions. We strive to inspire healing, promote awareness, and empower veterans on their journeys. Welcome. That's why I want to call this Ethos of Silence, right? So we go back to how you were raised, how you were born, what you think, and the amazing things that you've accomplished, right? Which is your ethos. I mean,
I just want to know, what does ethos mean to you?
What's ethos mean to a Marine? Huh?
Yeah, what does it mean? I have no idea. Like in the dark here. Enlighten me.
Well, ethos to a Marine is everything. Ethos is the warrior culture, the warrior mindset, the warrior mentality. It's what makes a warrior become bulletproof.
Peace? I don't know.
Ethos comes down to everybody being a warrior. I mean, it's just your culture, your mindset, what you build off of. You're passionate about all of your kids, you know?
Right.
You're passionate about being involved in our lives to ensure that we grow up correctly.
Yeah.
You were passionate about having us raised in the church at a young age to establish morals.
Right.
The moral value that the church instilled is the ethos of that religion. That is ethos.
That's the ethos that I passed on.
Yes, that's the ethos we were born into.
Okay.
But then whenever you go in the military, you get broken down and you get rebuilt into their ethos, into their belief system, into their terminology of what words are called, of what everything is. And you get born again. In the Marine Corps, just like the commercial, it feels like you've climbed to the top of the mountain. You pulled your sword out of the sheath and you're about to fight and slay the dragon. And something as powerful as that image is what you've become. And that is the ethos of a Marine. Right here in November, come November 10th, every Marine's going to let you know they're a Marine because it's the Marine Corps birthday. Every Marine's going to let you know. It doesn't matter how they exited the Corps, if they exited the Corps on good terms, bad terms, if they loved it, if they couldn't wait to get out. They're going to be the most patriotic person you've ever seen.
Because it's something ingrained in them.
Yeah, it's ingrained in them that they've earned the title. Just like anybody else who's completed anything in life. Whenever you complete the training process and you earn the title. Because there's something masculine about the military, it goes back to a primal culture of you earn stuff. Like you're a hunter and you keep what you kill. It's your rewards. So you earn your titles, you earn your ranks, you earn your different badges for completing all of your different achievements, and you build upon those things to make yourself better.
But isn't it also about protecting?
The better you build yourself up, the better you can protect everyone around you. So by developing the culture of always improving yourself, you're always improving your abilities to protect those around you. But ethos is the fun part to talk about.
Okay.
The silence is the difficult part.
All right. Let's have fun.
That's why I named this podcast Ethos of Silence, right? Because ethos is the fun part. Ethos is where we could get into, and I could talk all day about how proud I am to be a Marine. And the pride that comes from people, and I can only imagine how proud somebody is if they've completed, different crazy trainings that are out there. But the silence is the problem. The silence is the whole passionate reason to do this. The silence is the mental health side of things, And anybody listening to this podcast isn't a statistic, so technically they're a positive part of what's going on right now.
100%.
The suicide rate is ridiculous. I know I've been in dark places before, and the only thing that's helped me out of it is I've got a Rolodex of people, and thank God that, you know, they answer the phone and I've got a solid person to bounce things off of. But I mean, that's a coping mechanism. That's not anything that provides the real things I need to heal. You know, I don't know what needs to happen to heal. I'm hoping along this journey I can help other people heal. I know alcohol is a coping mechanism, but too much of it and I lose myself, so who knows what's going to happen then. You rise from the ashes like a phoenix. You rise from the ashes and you're rebuilt, reborn. You
Stronger.
Stronger than you ever were. But getting to that point of being stronger, that's probably why the silence is so scary. It's hard to accept that something that strong is broken. And if I'm broken, does that mean I'm a failure? And accepting the fact that you're a failure, or diving back down to the ashes to rebuild your mental toughness, your mental capacity, letting your mind break down to rebuild the way you think about the surrounding world so you can cope with what you've done.
Wow.
Possibly that is why the silence is so scary. It's hard to be vulnerable. I mean, it's hard to be vulnerable to begin with. I mean, a therapist has all these tools to help me, right? But I have to be vulnerable enough to open up to them. But can I actually trust them?
Well, Tim, my thing is, okay, so you were broke down all the way to nothing and then built back up, right? The Phoenix. So now, basically, you're broken again.
I am broken, but I can't afford to break all the way back down. If I break down, I have nothing to support the kingdom I built around me. And then if I don't have the resources to build myself back up, what am I? Another one of these homeless veterans that's living off on the streets? We find multiple coping mechanisms. We find multiple amazing people along our path and multiple amazing veterans, hoping by hearing their stories we can hear other types of coping mechanisms. Getting back in nature, being able to balance, being able to focus on family, all the things that were possibly our core values before we bought into all of our ethos, before we bought into the military culture and the military way of things.
So I hate to say this, so did the military break you?
Of course. But it also made me stronger. It also made me into a warrior. How can you create a warrior that's going to go into harm's way and put his life on the line and care more about the value of the person next to him than himself, and not be broken when you come back to a society that's all about yourself?
Wow.
At what point am I allowed to break down and heal? I'm not.
No.
Especially if you have a family. Especially if you have other mouths to feed. A kingdom to maintain. A queen to ensure that you take care of them. Or maybe we're talking about this warrior princess who was out there on the front lines. When is she allowed to be able to take a breath and relax and reset down the foundation? Maybe I'm strong enough to where my foundation is solid. I was raised in an extremely religious family. I have a huge foundation off of that. So maybe the military didn't have to break me down because I already believed in God, because I already had a belief system, and there was no way they were going to shake that core foundation I had. But they were going to build on top of those. Let's say my religion was this core foundation that is the cobblestone, that is everything that's there, you know. The Marine Corps puts these cinder blocks down and they build this up, right? And of course, through war, through deployments, through not being home when kids are born, I struggle. And there starts to be cracks in all of these cinder blocks, right? So what do? You throw some RTV on there, you throw some caulking on it, you patch it up. But you never heal. And the correct thing to do is break that foundation back down and fix it. But you're never given the opportunity. Because if you do, you feel like everything else will crumble around you. I don't understand the mentality of people who believe they deserve a single thing in this world from a single person. At what point have you ever deserved anything? Everything worth having is something that is gained over time. Let's go back to Ethos, right? How long was it taken to be born into that ethos, right? So if it's a religious ethos, you go through all your young childhood education classes after school in the church for years to build that education, build you understand and have that faith that religion belongs to you, right? Years, right? Whenever it comes to the military, we do things a little more efficiently, right? Or at least we'd like to think so, right? So we think if we can physically break somebody down into the ground, I don't know how long the other boot camps go for, but Marine Corps, right? 3 months. We believe that in 3 months, we can undo whatever you were born into, whatever ideology you have, right? So I know they didn't completely break me down, but they broke me down enough to where whenever they rebuilt me, I was forged into this Marine Corps way of thinking to where a box of crayons is delicious. And nothing's ever going to change that. Nothing's ever going to change that, And you know that just because, like I've said before, Marine Corps birthday, November 10th. Falls up there with one of the most important days of my life, Falls up there with my birthday, my wedding anniversary, my kids' birthdays, all these amazing events. November 10th falls as one of those dates that I know exactly what day it is. It might fall after one of the darkest days of my life, but it definitely falls as one of those days that I will remember forever. And lets me know that everything will be okay, because if I can earn the title, why would I give it away? Why? Why would I ever stop? Once a Marine, always a Marine is part of that ethos. But that needs to be part of every service member's ethos, is the fact that they've earned something. Doesn't matter what happens after that. It's the same as different people telling you that receiving that education is something that even if I get fired, you can never take away the skills I learned and what I've done. And I will make you regret the day that you decided that you were going to move on from me being employed here because I had a personal issue going on and you were unable to see through the fact of what was going on, and you created an undue hardship in my life. But don't think just because you present a challenge, I'm going to be the next homeless guy out on the street. All right, Gammy. So you mentioned the fact of your generation and what you do, right? Because I broke down myself a lot of how I'm feeling, what I've dealt with, what could possibly start to shake the foundation of this military man who was raised with good murals. Maybe it's a woman who was raised with this moral foundation that in God I trust, in the fact of putting all my faith in them, everything will be okay, right? So my foundation from the start has been built up that it is this. let's say that I don't believe in God, and my foundation is built up that the world's an evil place. The exact opposite. The world's an evil place, and it's going to be what it's going to be. That's my foundation, right? So that's not going to go anywhere, right? And you build up from the military, and you have this amazingly strong foundation, but it's a little shaky. It's got some cracks in it. It's got everything else in it, right? Same with anybody else. But I believe it's a generational difference that now we have a suicide problem in our generation. Now we have a suicide problem suicide's so pertinent. We've got Netflix series called 13 Reasons Why, and we're all trying to figure out why this little girl killed herself. And it's popular. So we've done made
suicide popular,
right? How? And then you wonder why we have a problem.
Yeah.
But no. We're gonna cancel people for telling jokes instead of cancel Netflix for these type of documentaries and series they're putting out.
That's insane.
So I mentioned the fact that Pandora's box, right? And that's literally why there's a chest on the logo that says, there's an ammo crate, right? And it's locked up. It's got a bunch of chains on it. And I tell you what, it's a military grade padlocks, which means that all you got to do is come and hit it with a hammer and it'll open right up, right? so it's nice and fragile and ready to go. Pandora's box has to stay shut. But the ability to keep Pandora's box shut is awesome, but the weight of Pandora's box on you, the difference between it being an anvil weighing you down and a feather letting you float through life, is the things that you put in that box. If you give it to God, or you give it to a higher power, or you allow somebody to assist you in carrying those burdens, by the fact of, even if you open up in therapy and tell somebody about it so they can acknowledge to you that, hey, that wasn't your fault. Hey, look, that's the best possible thing that could happen.
Wow.
But what happens whenever you're in therapy and they have to literally look at you and say, hey, man, you fucked up. Tell you what, that's a tough burden to carry. I seriously doubt anybody who's getting paid money by me is going to tell me that. That might end up in a fight. But maybe I wanted to carry that burden. At that point, I didn't give it to anybody to take off of me. So, maybe that's why I'm not opening up, is because I know it's my fault. I know I'm the reason that caused all these things. But is that the same thing as me thinking I'm the reason as a little kid my parents got divorced? Is that the same thing as me at, 8, 9 years old looking at mommy and saying, Mommy, I'm the reason you don't love daddy no more? We know that some of this stuff hits home so hard. And some of these are really, really tough things that you are living with or dealing with on a daily basis. And sometimes we know if we give these to somebody to help us relieve the burden, but the burden is something that helps us, we look in the mirror and we see the scars, and the scars help us remember that we are strong and we've made it through. And we feel like if we were to allow somebody to remove these scars, we'd forget the lessons learned. How would we ever forget that lesson we learned? It's embedded in us. So obviously we're not going to forget it. But we feel if we give that burden, if we relieve ourselves of that burden, that all of a sudden we relieve ourselves of that attachment, relieve ourselves of that person. So we carry relics, we carry rings, we carry crosses, we carry symbols of the ideologies we carry, of the fact of the tattoos we put on our body to symbolize the warriors we have become, the warriors we always will be. The name across the back of an athlete. When a warrior looks down at his chest and he sees the fact of the branch that he serves and the last name that he represents, right? I need to hold up the honor of my last name because I am that warrior. And I also need to hold up the honor of the branch that I represent. Because when I look down, I see U.S. Marines and I see Laux. And I realize that, hey, I've got to hold up the honor of that. That's right there on my chest, right there across my heart, right there ready to go to war with and die and represent. And I'm not going to be the warrior that they say was not there, was not tuned in, ready for battle, ready to be there, ready to make everything happen, right? And things happen. And when things happen, who do I turn to? So I'm trying to tell everybody out there that these burdens that are holding you down are real. And you know they're real. And you feel like if you tell somebody about them, that they will not be as powerful, or that you will forget the lessons you learned. Those lessons are embedded in you. There is no way you will forget the lessons you learned, right? You feel like you're going to lose the people those lessons are attached to. You feel like you're going to lose yourself if you let go. Yeah. Letting go is okay. We need to let go with a professional who can help us find a way to cope. I believe healing doesn't exist. I hope I'm wrong. I pray that there is a magic thing that will help healing happen. I've taken pills. You know what? When you take the pills, they make everything numb. The whole world around you is cloudy. And if the whole world around you is cloudy, what's the point? If I can't enjoy my family, if I can't enjoy the highs and the lows and cry with my family and acknowledge what's going on in the moment, what's the point? So I do not believe that the pills are the answer. Maybe they're a temporary solution to help you get to a better place.
Thank you for joining us today. We will now have a moment of silence for our departed comrades and for those missing in action and those held as prisoners of war.